This is an international podcast transmission. Is anyone out there? If you're listening, you've reached the No Fixed Agenda podcast.
We're on.
Go for it.
Of course. I get a phone call. Hey, is it urgent?
No. Hang up. Click.
Somebody calls you 3 times back to back. You understand the anxiety that I get, dude?
Yeah, of course.
Like,
especially when they don't call you that often at any given point in time.
Bro, and you get 3 back-to-back calls. That reminds me of when my mom died.
I do that to Des.
You call her back 3 times back-to-back, dude? Dude, that's an asshole move, bro.
Well, sometimes when I call her back to back, I never really call her during the day. So when I do and she doesn't answer.
You're explaining your dickery right now.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Right.
She gets all flustered and like, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on?
Well, I do that to Suzette, but only because she never answers her phone. Ever.
Got it.
Ever. Like,
got it.
I have legitimately had this conversation with Suzette. I am this close to taking her away from or removing her from all of my emergency contact information. And she's like, why would you do that? I said, because I could be dead in a ditch or an ER somewhere and you're not going to answer anyways.
Yeah.
Like,
doesn't matter.
At this point, maybe I'll put Jeff Stoner on there.
Yes. I've made it
to the
list.
I said, it's either going to be Bliss. She goes, well, wait a minute. Who would it be? I said, it might be Bliss. It might be Jeff. It might be anybody who answers your phone regularly that can answer questions. Like,
that's funny.
Oh, God, dude. Oh, dude. Anyhow, we're done. That was my little vent piece. But, and I won't say who was calling me there. Then that wasn't urgent. That called me 3 times back to back and said, no, it's not urgent. Okay, bye. I'll talk to you later. Yeah. Anyhow. We're here to talk about
e-bikes
and
e-bike safety,
which I think, dude, is so freaking important in Southern California coastal areas because it is not an issue in the inland cities, bro. We had this conversation. We were talking to Grace about chain reaction and what the service is, which I think is so powerful, but I don't think it's an issue in the hood.
It's not. It's not an issue in major metropolitan, like centralized locations, like you're talking about, like inner city. Yeah, because parents don't want their kids riding around on e-bikes in those areas. It is a coastal deal,
100%.
And we've definitely seen it here in Carlsbad and Oceanside and Encinitas because there's been some deaths with kids. Yeah. Right down the street from my house. And it's rough. And I gave this, I told this story in the podcast. We were sitting at a traffic light one time getting ready to turn left. And the cost across the traffic light from us was another car getting ready to go straight. Right. And when the light turned green, there was an e-bike with 2 kids that couldn't have been any more than 12 years old. Oh. Come up on our driver's side or on our left side, getting ready to turn left as we were trying to turn left and the car was getting ready to go straight. It was a clusterfuck and it would have been a fucking nightmare.
Were they wearing helmets?
I think the person on the back was wearing a helmet. The person that was actually riding or driving the bike was not.
Interesting. The conversation we had on the podcast was we talked about Grace doing her pitch over at the Group SD, and that conversation got so much attention in that pitch that she did. Yep. But I think this conversation that we have on the podcast for a lot of the people who have kids who own e-bikes is going to be very interesting. And I also think that the services that she's going to provide that they're providing with this nonprofit is going to be so valuable to those parents. To your point, people in the Midwest, in country areas, are not going to be struggling with this issue. People in inner cities are not going to be struggling with this issue. But we see it in downtown San Diego. We see it because people are riding scooters, e-scooters, right?
Yeah.
And so the whole concept that she had and they have with the nonprofit is going to be so impactful to the community, in our community, that I can't wait to see what they do with it, dude.
I want kids to be out there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right around. Like, better
to have them outside than in front of an iPad.
Yeah, exactly. And I've had stories plenty of times over with people that are like, hey, remember when we were growing up as kids, we could ride around wherever the fuck we wanted to. And the parents were just like, come home at dinner time.
Yeah. Come home when the lights turn on, right?
When the lights turn on, come on home.
Yeah.
And I want youth to be experienced that.
Exactly.
But at the cost of what is happening now, like it's hard. Like, and it sucks because these parents are just giving these kids these e-bikes and not really knowing the full purpose of what the fuck is going on. And I'm sorry, but I think they're just ignorant to what they think is happening.
Absolutely. And this, we talked about it in the podcast. So after we recorded the episode, I had a couple conversations with parents who have e-bikes or giving their kids e-bikes. And I asked them one question. What do you think the question was?
Do you know what your kids are doing with them?
No.
Oh.
Have you ever ridden the bike?
Oh, that would be my next one. And they probably said no, didn't they?
All of them said, I got in it one time and it scared the shit out of me. And I said, ooh, we got the episode for you, baby. Like, you need to listen to this episode and you need to go talk to Grace. And so, yeah, it's impactful because to your point, they're out there buying the kids their e-bikes so that they can be outside and not in front of their phones or on iPads or in front of a computer or TV or whatever the case may be. And it's working. People are getting outside. Kids are getting outside. That's the one thing I said about the pandemic. There was only one really good thing that came from the pandemic. Yeah. People realized how important fitness was.
Yeah.
Right. And this is the same thing, right? People are really realizing how important it is to be outside, get some activity, even though they're just riding the bike. But they're outside. They're getting some vitamin D. They're getting fresh air. They're interacting. They're actually talking to each other face to face and not over text. Like, there's so much positivity that's coming from these e-bikes, but there's also a downside to it, and that's what we're talking about in the episode.
Problem is that's the only thing people talk about is the negative aspect of it. Is, some kid could be out there doing all the right stuff.
Right.
And then the one time he does, they do something negative with it, everybody hears about it, and here you go. It's unfortunate. I like to, also blame some of these retailers like Costco that just sell these things. And I'm kind of hoping and we get into the Chain Reaction Foundation that Grace is a part of, and the education aspect that they're trying to bring to it. And I think part of that is educating not only the kids and the parents, but also the retailers too. I think that's a huge fucking thing, because if everybody wants to make money and Costco doesn't really care. They've got the product on floor, and they don't know if somebody's buying it for themselves or buying it for their kids, and but it's that misunderstanding there too. So
they're not going to turn away the dollar.
No, exactly. So I think listening to what the foundation is doing and trying to get accomplished is unbelievable, and I think it's. I hope that more and more people can kind of get into it, and their platform can start taking off, so that way more and more education can come about it, because it's only going to get worse as far as the amount of e-bikes that are out there and the kids that are jumping on them.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's educating the parents, educating the retailers, educating the kids. I remember this conversation that we had about the children and the responsibility they have on these bikes. I quickly remembered the conversation that we had on the Handles episode.
Yeah.
Where it's like we sit there and we talked about, well, what's wrong with the kids nowadays? Like, we had the old man conversation, like these kids, right? And so, and I said, well, they're not dumb. They're not dumb. It's just figuring out a way for Chain Reaction or any organization to one, educate them, two, educate the parents that are giving them, educate the retailer. And then I said this, there has to be some form of law oversight from hate to say it, government, education, and maybe the retailers, right? These kids are out there buying e-bikes, or parents are buying the e-bikes for their kids, and there's no licensing requirements, and they're motor vehicles. I'm sorry. Some of these e-bikes go up to 70 miles an hour, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like and they're wearing no helmets. And now we had the conversation, dude, and I'm sitting there driving now in my car or running or doing whatever it is I'm doing outside, and I see these kids. I'm like, are they wearing a helmet?
Mm-hmm.
I was walking with Grace out of the gym the other day. We went to go grab lunch at Enzo's, man, and I'm like, look at those kids. They're on the bike. They were young adults, dude. They must have been close to 18, and they were like, no helmets. And she was like, fucking A, right? And so, like, it's a powerful conversation, dude. It's almost like there needs to be a second part to this conversation, in my opinion, because maybe we talk to parents, like the fact that I had those conversations with 2 or 3 different other parents, and they're like, I've never been on the e-bike, and I would like to hear like some of the scared straight stuff too. Like, and so she talked about the scare. There's so much in this episode that I think people are going to really take away from. And if you are a parent that has a kid who owns an e-bike, you need to listen to this.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Exactly. I hope you guys enjoy. This is definitely an educational conversation, especially if you've got kids that have an e-bike.
Yeah.
So please enjoy and welcome
Grace Guerra. This is No Fixed Agenda, brought to you by Bubs Natural. Their mission statement is simple: live better, live longer. Bubs helps fuel people to reach their maximum human potential through supplements sourced from nature's highest quality ingredients, while giving 10% of all proceeds back to charity. Learn more about their NSF sports certified collagen peptides and electrolyte drink mix at bubsnaturals.com. You ain't trying to be a good time for me. I'm on my own good time. You don't need me. I don't need you for me to have a good time. I can have a good time all by myself. Sorry. But this time we're having a good time with you. So. Why?
Because we've got Grace in here who can spill a lot of secrets.
Dude, she knows a lot about us.
I got the tea.
We got Grace Guerra here, dude. So Guerra.
Yeah.
Guerra. She has all the tea. She knows the behind the scenes on both of our.
I know, it's a little scary. I don't know if I'm going to probably keep this conversation to 5 minutes.
Yeah, I agree. Just keep it close.
So
I will behave. I will friendship, brotherhood, sisterhood. I got you.
Just be quiet.
I'm here with my big brothers. I'm not gonna spill it all.
So
I think we need to be careful.
Yeah, I'm happy that you're in here finally. I wanted to find the right conversation to have with you.
Yeah.
I think that's the important thing.
That's not about us.
She's going to spit some stuff about us anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But I think the important thing is I wanted to make sure that, because you've been like, oh, I need to get in here.
I say that jokingly because I also was like, I don't want to go in there without.
No, and
so we got to have.
Yes, I think the conversation is, I think, prime right now. I really respect the fact that you are doing this chain reaction thing, and it's a huge deal from an e-bike perspective, and that's why we're talking today. It's
all things chain reaction, and what is that, and what is it doing?
Yeah, I've got a couple stories that I want to share with the e-bike stuff, but I don't want to miss out because this is the opportunity for Grace to answer this.
Oh, I know what's coming. And I have been thinking about this literally for 24 hours. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to say.
Yes, queen. Yes.
What is it?
What is, ask the question first.
What is your business profile?
Tinder profile.
What's your pitch?
Which this kills me because every time I listen to the podcast every week, I'm like, okay, what would mine be? What would mine be? And now I'm here and I'm still asking what would mine be because
first of all, have you been on Tinder, the dating app? You're young.
Yeah, I am of the generation of when Tinder came out. I'm pretty sure I was in college. So I want to say yes, I had been on it. Okay, but I think I was on it for a hot second and was like, yeah, this is not for me.
Okay.
And all my friends, like you hear the horror stories and everything like that. Yes, I know what it is. What would be my business Tinder profile? I feel because I have become this last year, it would be I'm a jack of all trades at this point. I help in a variety. I can come help do a variety of things, project management, marketing. Now I get to add nonprofit to my list of things.
So what's the catchphrase that are going to get people to swipe right, left, or up?
I don't know. This is why I literally have been stressed about this question.
Should we come up with one for her?
So I think you guys, and honestly, that I was like, I'm going to turn this back on them because I work for both of you. So what would
you worked with it longer than I have, dude?
But I think I've done more work for you than I have for him in the 4 years that I've worked for him, and less than a year that I've worked for you.
Yes, I lean on you a lot more for sure.
Yeah. Here's the problem with this is Grace sits in the same position that I sat in about 15, 20 years ago, where it is you've lost your corporate job and now you're trying to figure out everything that you're supposed to be doing or want to be doing. And she is doing 2 handfuls of projects. And I give you much respect for it because I've been there and I've seen it, I've done it, I've worked it. And you get so wrapped up in what hat you need to put on throughout that time frame that it can be really confusing and at the same time invigorating and at the same time just frustrating.
Yeah, you feel every emotion.
And so it's from your perspective, it's really hard to dial in that elevator pitch. It's because there's so many things that could go into it. So it's hard to think about that.
Yeah.
In a sense.
We wanted you to talk about something like one of the many moments that we had about your nonprofit was at the Group SD. So that's how I knew you had something special because of I think there were how many people do you think there were in that thing? Maybe 50, 60 people?
I mean, at least, yeah. It grows every week, so it's really awesome to see.
The Group SD has grown so much. But you were so nervous.
Oh my gosh.
To give your little elevator speech. So if the Group SD, anytime you're new to the group, they give you a 2-3 minute elevator pitch type. And so Grace, we take Grace for the first time, right? And she's just, what do I say? What do I do? And people are going to really like it. You should have seen the wheels spinning in this woman's head.
Because of the master of all trades. So I was like, do I talk about my consulting? Do I talk about what I do for Jeff and Omar? Do I talk about the nonprofit? I was like, what do I choose? I have no idea.
Yeah. But I think when you I think you're really passionate about this nonprofit, the fact that you're adding it to your repertoire. I think all of the other project management, the support you give to me, the support you give to Jeff, the support you give to these other clients that you're getting right now is something that I think you are really good at, but there's no real passion. You like the project management of it. I can see your wheels spinning. Oh shit, I got this problem. I want to come to a solution. I want to fix it. And you've produced amazing results for us as a gym and as a community and for me. But I think this nonprofit is something that you're really passionate about.
Yeah.
And so when you talked about it in the Group SD and you were like, and all of a sudden, usually when people give their elevator pitch at the Group SD, there's not a whole lot of questions, but the Group SD lit the fuck up that day. Right. So
yeah, they were excited. It was cool.
What was that pitch for the audience here?
Yeah. I was approached last year to come and help bring an idea to life. There wasn't a team or a person that could dedicate the amount of time it takes to start a nonprofit, which I have zero experience in nonprofit. I had no idea where to start, but the idea was to create a course of some sort for kids ages 12 to 17, 18, where they can come in and learn the rules of the road because they are out on these e-bikes and they're young. They're not in driver's training yet. So it's this 4-hour class that they can just come to get a crash course in how to operate a vehicle, how to safely navigate the roads, how to interact with other drivers, pedestrians, other cyclists. And so that's where Chain Reaction was born. And it was a mom who had 2 girls that were riding their e-bikes. And she was like, and it's becoming more and more, I don't want to say a problem because e-bikes they're a means for these kids to get around and have fun and explore the beach towns that they live in. But we want to make sure they're safe. And we've seen the rise in accidents and unfortunately deaths even. And so how do we get these kids educated and safe? And the turnaround too is that we're educating these kids at 12 to 17 as e-bike riders, but those kids are going to become drivers. And now they're that much more aware as a driver when they get behind the wheel of a car, looking out for other e-bike kids.
It's generational knowledge right there, baby.
It is. So let's take a step back just for a second. And I think it's been interesting to see this kind of happening over the last 3 or 4 years in the fact that e-bikes have become a very popular deal. And guys, growing up in a small Midwest town where we could just fucking bike anywhere we wanted to, not have to worry about it. And it was great. I love seeing kids out there.
Yeah.
But at least I feel like we had the knowledge of, hey, if I'm riding my bike down the road, at least I should stop at a stop sign.
Yeah.
Or I should wait till a car goes by me to turn left. And you've seen it over these last few years more and more, like as I kind of want to blame, I'm always going to blame the parents for this because the parents need to have a better understanding and know that their kids need to have that understanding of how the rules of the road go. But I want to blame places like Costco that are selling e-bikes for a reasonable cost.
Right.
That are just like, here you go.
Yep.
And it doesn't, and I say Costco because Costco is one of the larger
big
box stores that does this.
Yeah.
And there's no, hey, you can buy this, but you're going to have to sign up for this class or whatever. There's no understanding of, oh, okay, you got your bike. Here you go. Go on, do your thing.
You think e-bikes should be like purchasing a car. You got to present a license.
No, I'm not saying that. I think who the parents are giving the bikes to. If it's a parent buying one for themselves, that's a completely different deal. But parents are buying their e-bikes for kids so they can ride to school, they can ride around town, whatever. But there's no acknowledgement of, shit, does my kid even understand what's going on? And I blame a lot of these big box retailers that don't have that acknowledgement of, hey guys, by the way, maybe this is part of the program that you guys have worked on or talked about or whatever. But I say this because I don't know what it's like in other parts of the country that we've seen it. We are lucky enough that we live in an area where it's like nice all the time. You got biking every single day, every single weekend. And it's gotten more and more e-bikes around Carlsbad. Like I said, I have a couple of stories with it. Like the worst point in time was when Des and I were sitting at a traffic light getting ready to turn left. There's another car across the way from us that's going, it looks like it's going to go straight. And as that light turned green for us, there was an e-biker, a set of fucking 3 kids on one bike.
It's so common.
That came to our driver's side to the left to turn left as we were getting ready to turn left as well. And you have this car coming on straight. And these kids didn't give 2 shits. They just went. Luckily, Des saw them in her driver's side mirror, and the car across the way saw it happening as well. So everybody stopped. But it's like, how fucking shitty would this have been? In the center of the village.
You could change your whole life.
And the village has already had a couple deaths on Carlsbad Village.
E-bike
That's
deaths.
E-bike deaths.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't really get. It's like this shit happens and it doesn't really resonate enough for these parents and these kids to continue on with, oh, we need better education systems with it. And I have heard that Carlsbad and I think Encinitas are now starting programs, I think.
There are programs. So we have done a lot of homework on the programs that are available. There's not many of them and they're not frequent.
Yeah.
And so for the city of Carlsbad, Encinitas, and I think Vista has theirs in place now. Kids, if they want to ride their e-bike to school, they have to go through some sort of education course.
Through the school or through where?
Through however they want to get it. And then they get a sticker that goes on their bike saying that they completed their course and they filed their certificate with the front office at the school. Some of those courses are being led by, like in Carlsbad, the police are leading that course. We've sat through it. the information is there. It's just not being presented in a way that's resonating with these kids. They go in, they sit in the auditorium. They don't have to turn their phones off. You've got a police officer up there going through a 30-point PowerPoint slide.
Yeah. How did this all start? Did this start by, because there's 2 other partners with this.
Yeah. We've got a whole board, but there's 3 of us that are really driving it right now.
So give me the background of how this idea completely began. Was it one individual that did this? Okay.
Yeah. So Sam, she's one of my partners. She's the one that has 2 daughters that at the time when she first had thought about it were in I think Allie was in 6th grade and Lauren was in probably just like a freshman or a sophomore in high school. So they were really big on the e-bikes. They're Carlsbad kids. And so she kept seeing the rise. Everybody has them. They own 4 e-bikes in their family. And she was just like, and she's also, this is her profession. She is a safety manager. She goes in and builds safety protocols for companies. And so she was like, with my expertise and being a mom, there's got to be a way to better educate these kids to make sure that they're learning the information that they need. And so she started to build this out, but she works full time. And so she's doing what she can on her off hours when she's not taking the kids to their athletic events and all that stuff. And it just became this thing where it just kept getting pushed to the side. So then when I had a change of employment, she approached me and she was like, I have this idea. I've been working on it for 2 years and I think you would be great. You love the kids, you love the community. And I just think you'd be a perfect fit to help bring this to life because I just can't do it all on my own. And so we sat down and we just started talking about it and my wheels just started turning. I was like, I see where this could go. I see what this could be and I want to be a part of it and I want to help lead it. And so that's really like how it started for me. But she had been previously working on it for 2 years. So she had done some of the nonprofits, tried to do some of like getting the declaration letter from the IRS. But again, it's a lot of work.
a lot of hoops.
Yeah, a lot of paperwork, things that you have to just fill out and file, and it takes forever. And she just needed one person that could sit down and just knock it out. And I was like, I got nothing else to do, so let's do it. And so that's how I got pulled into it. So then we started talking like, you need a board for a nonprofit and who do we think would be great for the board? And we just started, she knows a ton of people just being a mom. She's from Encinitas, so she's local. She's grown up here. And so we just started picking out different people that we thought could really help fit the board and what we were trying to do. And we had our first board meeting and everybody was just like super excited about it. And I think that's the biggest thing that we've seen through this whole thing is how much everybody wants it, but it's like, how do we now get it like mass produced and how do we get it out there and how do we get the parents signing their kids up and things like that?
Scaling it is the biggest issue in any business.
So what's the start point then as far as the education aspect of it? So you've got the board, you've gone through all of the process of you guys have obviously got your education platform.
Yep.
Your booklet or whatever, you got your classes, and we'll go into that in a second because I thought you guys did a really good job in pitching that in the networking group too. But where do you even begin to like say, okay, we can have these classes, but who do we talk to first?
Yeah. For sure.
How do we present it?
Yeah. How do we present it? Do you start talking to cities? Do you start talking to police departments?
Yeah.
How did that conversations begin?
That's essentially, and that's where we're at right now too, is we're still figuring that out. It's not something that we haven't solved for it. It's, we're talking to who we know and we're just trying to we've had one class that was just like a pilot class where we wanted to test the material. And it was bringing kids that, Sam's kids knew. They came in and helped us with it. I brought in a couple of kids that I know to just run the programming with them. And then really it's been getting in front of the group SD and presenting it to them and seeing how it just resonated with people there. But then it's also meeting with the city. Like we met with the city of Encinitas and we're participating in an event with them in May. And it's really just starting to build those conversations with school boards. And I've got someone in the Vista Kiwanis Club that wants to talk to us and like, how do they bring it about? So it's utilizing
I think
our community.
I think you're onto something huge here. I think the fact that one of your strongest assets, in my opinion, is the fact that you can do that you have this ability. That was the number one suggestion that I gave to you. I said, you need to start your own business where you're going to be your own boss that you could actually lean into your gift. And your gift, and I'll tell you what your gift is. Your gift is to be able to see something that is meaningful, and then you applying all of the skill sets that you've had due to the jobs and the experience. That's your gift. Yeah. And you literally just use it and you like tap into it. You're like, oh, this mission means something. I'm going to do everything in my power and pull all of the people that I know and all the experiences that I have, and I'm going to apply it to this mission. I think you're really good at that. And I says, early on when you first started helping me out, I said, you could be doing this not just for me, but for 5 other clients, right? Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of who you are as a person, right? You see a mission, you're like, I can tap into that mission. And then you make it that mission your own. Mm-hmm. Like this thing with chain reaction is huge because I think you're onto something from a ground level that is such a huge necessity. Like you pointed out so eloquently, and I think we went over it too fast. That's
a big word for you, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
He's hanging out with us more.
I'm just hanging out all my white friends. Like, I think what I was trying to get at was like you are legitimately coming to a point where there's this dire need, and the need is not that there is no more training out there, that the training is not working. Yeah. It's not speaking to these kids in a way that they're going to take it to heart and be interactive with it. And so you guys are taking that, and now where do I would assume my guess would be like, if I'm on the board, I'm like, why aren't we tapping into the school districts? We have conversations with several schools and how the educational system needs to change rapidly, because now it's not just getting information or acquiring information. It's not learning information. It's learning how to acquire information. Yeah. That's where this is probably something that if you're going to be driving to school on your e-bike, to your point, some of these schools are going to be doing, you get a sticker system, you get a decal system. Do you get a freaking license? And it's like, hey, you're going to be driving an e-bike. It is a motor vehicle of sorts. Yes. Right?
There's 3 classifications of e-bikes, and one of them can go up to 70 miles per hour.
That is nuts.
And some of these kids have them.
Dude, I got my own horror stories. I guarantee you if we had an audience in this studio, I guarantee you if you had 50 people in this audience that we'd have 50 different stories on horror stories on e-bikes. Yeah. Especially from people that live in here. I spoke to somebody about your particular nonprofit as well, and they live in the hood. They don't have this issue. Like in the hood is not an issue, bro. You go down to Chula Vista, not an issue. Yeah. You go down to some parts of Chula Vista, like East Lake, yes, you will have it. But like West Chula Vista, National City, ain't no kids got no money for e-bikes, bro. Unless they came up to Carlsbad and stole them.
It's interesting though, because like living in Chicago, e-bikes were becoming a thing. They were starting to transition the public bikes over to a e-bike of some sort, a pedal assist bike. But I don't even know if it's necessarily like the same problem. Like it really does feel like it's a beach town 100%.
Yeah. That stuff, like you get to like big cities like that where bikes really aren't a necessity. And even in small town Midwest, it probably is not, or small town America, it's probably not, I'd say. Yeah. I think what's tough is, yes, it's a demographic thing.
100%, dude.
I also think too that I've seen kids out in Oceanside and Carlsbad that have had the e-bikes, and this is my other problem with it, is the fact that kids don't really give a shit enough to understand what they actually have. This is my personal opinion. I've seen enough kids drive around Carlsbad with these e-bikes, lay them down, not even lay them down on the ground. They just
throw them down.
They just let it fall down on the ground. Like, hey, it's a $2,000 e-bike. They're just doing that. And then I will not forget this, that we were at a street fair.
We were at this together.
Oh yeah, we were.
We were at a
street fair.
I'll never forget this.
And we had a booth. We were hanging out promoting one of my businesses, and all of these kids,
at least 15.
Yeah, easily. Easy. There was like a gang of kids on these e-bikes, and they just let them sit there. They didn't lock them up, nothing. They left for what, 40 minutes?
At least. It went and got food, whatever, walked around.
Walked away. E-bike?
One of them got stolen. And Grace and I were standing there
the whole time.
And somebody just walked up and grabbed one. We didn't even notice.
I had no idea.
This kid came back and he's like, "Where's my e-bike?" And that's what I don't like for me, I'm like, honestly, you're given this gift of having this e-bike and you're not even taking responsibility.
You're giving the gift of freedom.
To lock it up. That right there shows me that you shouldn't be fucking riding around on your e-bike if you can't even understand that you can't just walk away from it.
Yeah.
You can't just like, and to me, again, it comes back to the parents not like teaching these kids enough. And I'm sorry, parents, but fuck.
Yeah.
You guys need to open your eyes.
There was a quote that I just saw on social media this morning, and it talked about this particular topic, and it was very much is a Saudi Arabia guy, and I'm driving a Mercedes today. My son will be driving a Range Rover. Yeah. His sons will be driving a Mercedes, right? His son's son will be driving a Camel again. And he came in, this is about Saudi Arabia, and this is the guy, his family's the one who founded Saudi Arabia. He says, my great-grandfather came in riding on a camel. My great-great-grandson will be riding out in a camel. And so the moral of the story was, I think people that come from these type of beach affluent communities, like I said, we're not having this issue in the hood because people can't afford fucking e-bikes in the hood. But now these kids that are okay with $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 fucking e-bikes that go 70 miles an hour that were just gifted to them.
Yeah.
And now it's like they don't see the value in that. They don't. And they don't see the value that they don't see the potential danger in it. They don't see anything. They just see that it's fun. I get to kick back with my friends. I had a scenario where I'm at EOS and I'm just answering messages and I look back up and there's a CVS next to the EOS. There was like 30 kids that took over the entire parking lot, dude. And I'm like, cars are trying to get in and out. And I'm just watching this and I'm thinking about you. And I'm like, dude, these kids have no other, like, this is their outlet.
Yeah.
Back in the day when I was growing up, it was like fucking throwing rocks into a hole. That was our entertainment. But now you got these bikes that are being entertaining to people, and
which we love. We want these kids to be out. That's the beauty of the e-bike is like we want them to be outside riding and
exactly.
I've also been a substitute teacher, and the one thing that I picked up on when I started doing that was how much time these kids spend on a screen in the classroom. And I'm like, it's just crazy to me because that's not how it was when I was growing up. But I get it. It's a tool. It's a tool that we use to educate. But the e-bikes to me it gets these kids outside. It gets them, whether or not it's working them out or giving them a workout, they're moving their legs. They're out and about. Yeah. But there just has to be some awareness when we're on them. And I think to your point about educating parents, that for me is like a phase 2 of what chain reaction could be, is like while your kids are in their 4-hour class getting a deep dive, you're getting the parents are getting a 1-hour class on what your kids are learning about.
Nice.
But also, have you ever been on an e-bike? You bought this $4,000, $3,000 e-bike. Have you actually ever ridden it? Do you know how it works?
How crazy it be or how dangerous it can be?
Exactly. And I don't think they all do. I think they're just like, my kid wanted this for Christmas. This is the brand we got him because all his friends have them. I'm not getting on that thing. And it's like the lack of education for parents is, you guys need to be just as educated as your kids are.
Well, that's very true. I think it's for the most part, parents are just letting to get their kids out of the house.
Exactly.
And for the longest time, you'd sit there and complain about how kids didn't want to do anything.
Right.
They'd sit there and play video games, not go outside at all. Now they're cruising around on e-bikes, and you're just like, shit. I'm glad they're outside, but.
You're like, which city are you in? Are you in Carlsbad? Are you in Oceanside? Are you in Encinitas? Because you can ride your e-bike to all of them.
Yes.
Wow.
It's scary about it, right?
Yeah, no, it is scary as shit.
When you originally did the first class,
pilot class,
the pilot class with kids that did they have any good feedback for you as far as I learned something from X but not from Y?
Yeah, absolutely.
So is that where some of the protocols came from?
Yeah.
Right now?
So when we had our first class and we ran it with a group of 10 kids, and we had 3 kids we had Sam's kids helping us just be student facilitators, because the other thing too that we're also looking at is we've created a volunteer program. So after you take the course, you can come back and help teach it with us and get volunteer hours for school.
That's a great idea.
That's like a separate thing. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But the kids that took it, like I would say it's like 50-50. 50%, 2 hours is in the classroom and 2 hours is outside of the classroom. And we have a space where it's all fenced in and the kids get to go out. We've got 2 or 3 activities that we do outside. But the first half is like a scared straight sort of thing. But
I love it.
We take them through. We have this video that Sam's brother made. And it starts out really far away. So celebrities that the kids would know that have been in e-bike accidents. And then it just, as the video goes on, it comes closer and closer to home to where it ends in some deaths that have taken place in Carlsbad and Encinitas in Oceanside. And so it just brings it back in of, hey, these are kids that lost their lives right here. One of the accidents that we show, we can walk outside and you can see the corner where the accident took place and someone lost their life. And so then we ease it up after that, but it really is just a hit home. This is real and it's happening in our community and it's happening every day. I
think that's so important that you teach these kids that we were just talking about this in the previous show. It was, we're never faced with our own mortalities in our fucking early 20s, teens. Like we think we're going to live forever, dude. Yeah. But if you do have I took my kid to a scared straight, my middle son, my youngest son. Yeah, I took him to Juvenile Hall, and they actually, you sign a waiver, dude, and you literally say, yep, you're okay to scare the shit out of my kid and fucking put him in jail, like, for 24 hours. Now, granted, the kids all know.
Yeah.
Like, they know I'm going to leave at the end of the day, but they treat them like they're processing them into Juvenile Hall, dude.
I love watching that show.
Dude, that's
a good show, by the way.
I went through it with my son, and I'm like, do you want to go through this? And I've done similar scenarios that really resonated with him because it didn't matter what the fuck I said, dude. As a parent, my kid, it didn't matter what I told him. He did not give a shit. I told him about all my past history and all that. He did not give a shit. He wanted to fucking figure that shit out for himself. And I said, fair enough. So whenever he started getting on drugs, I took him to the crack alley where I used to go score my drugs, and I dropped him off there one time at 13 years old, and I left him there. And I took off, and I went around the block, and I watched him from 2 blocks away, and I watched him just freak the hell out next to all the homeless and all the crack, all the hookers and everything. And he's just like, what do I do? And I'm like, figure it out, dude. You want to this is where you're going to end up. And then I took him to that scared straight. So I think when kids are faced with those kind of environments, it snaps them into reality and goes, holy shit, you mean I could die?
And like, ours is not as intense, but
yeah,
but it does. So that's,
I don't know. I think it should be, dude.
But yes, it is.
You're not dropping. You should take them over. You should take them with their e-bike to the hood and be like, "Yo, dude, let's see how long you last with your e-bike."
Yeah, let's talk about insurance. For that.
Yeah, exactly. But it is. That's how we start the course. Is just watch this video of celebrities that you know, and then it comes down and it gets really close into home.
That's good.
And half the time, like, these kids all know someone that has, or they themselves have had an accident or gotten really scared. Yeah. And then we take them outside and we have this activity, and it's called Head Wound Harry. And each kid gets to decorate a coconut, and they name their coconut, it's like pairs of kids. They name their coconut, they build a bond with their coconut, and then we go outside and they drop their coconut at 5 miles per hour, 10 miles per hour, 15 miles per hour. We just keep increasing it. And you just see what happens to your coconut when it's just dropped off the back of the bike when you're going at those different speeds. Yeah. And the sound that of that cracking. So it's probably not anatomically correct what happens to a skull, but it's a good representation of just this is what can happen to you if you're not wearing your helmet, or if you're wearing your helmet and it's not buckled.
Or you're being just reckless.
Reckless.
So as far as the helmets go, this is interesting to me that you at one point in time talked about how all these kids are getting dark helmets.
Yep. We have a whole thing on that. That's part of the second half.
I'm interested in hearing about that. What interests me is if you're on your regular bike, if you're on a motorcycle, you need to be wearing your helmets, and then you still see kids out there on these fucking e-bikes that don't have helmets on.
Yeah.
So
legally they are required.
Legally they are
on e-bike.
On e-bike,
but not on a regular bike. You're not.
No, yeah.
On all bikes.
On all bikes, technically. Yeah. Now, granted, if you're cruising down the coast on your cruiser without a helmet, is a cop going to really stop you?
Nope.
Probably not. Yeah. No, because they're not going to take the time to do that. Now, it's probably the same way with a road bike. If you're cruising up to miles of 25, 30 miles an hour and the cop sees you, they'll probably stop you and say something. E-bikes, same thing. But it's one of those things. Like, I cannot still believe that I see kids cruising around without the helmet on these things.
Yeah.
What's the thing on the dark helmets?
Yeah.
Factor.
But why not have are you saying we should not have dark helmets?
No, we shouldn't. So these kids want the dark helmets. It looks cooler. It's not like bright and loud. It blends in. Like it's not going to clash with their outfit. It's like a whole thing. But the issue with it's fashion. The issue with dark helmets is that we can't see them. We as drivers can't see them
because they blend in with their hair.
Because they blend in, and also, kids' fashion these days is crazy to me. But it's also all dark. They're wearing these big dark clothing, pants, sweatshirts, all that, and then you throw a dark helmet on, and their bike isn't bright. Like their bikes,
they're all black.
They're all black. So they just become invisible. Or even if it's like a military green helmet, that's a pretty popular color as well. They're blending into the foliage. So when I look in my side view mirrors, I'm still not seeing them because their helmet is blending in with whatever the background is. So you want your kids to have bright helmets, those bright blues, white, even orange, anything that's just going to call attention to them. It's not cool. But
it's not cool.
Sorry, guys. Your e-bike's cool.
Yeah,
your helmet. I'm sorry. Your life is a lot cooler than your helmet. So let's get your helmet on.
You should coin that.
Right?
That'd be right there.
We have this one part in the education where it's a slide and it's either 5 or 6 helmets and it's on a street background, like with greenery and everything. Like it's just like a picture of a street. And then we put helmets all over this slide. And we're like, how many helmets do you see in this photo? Yeah. And every single time they miss at least 2 of them because they blend into the foliage and you can't see them.
It's tough.
And that's the big issue with helmets is,
imagery stuff is so when it comes to that stuff. Like you sit there and be like everybody, like you tell anybody, okay, I want you to look at anything that's gray in this room. Gray. Okay, now tell me the one thing that's purple. And everybody's saying, what purple? Like they don't know. They don't fucking see it.
They can't see it.
That's pretty cool.
And so it's just funny to me. They're sitting right there. They're young. Their eyesight's good. It shouldn't be a problem for them to see where the helmets are. And it's not like we strategically place them anywhere. We literally just threw 5, 6 helmets up on this image and asked and was just like, what can you see? How many can you count?
Where does the program sit right now as far as the educational piece with it? You guys have got the whole entire platform is done as far as the protocols and what you're teaching, and
I think we're still working through it.
You are? Okay.
Yeah. So we've had the one pilot class, but we need kids. We need kids to sign up and we need to get them in there. And that I think has been the hardest part is just like getting it out there. And there's always an excuse. And maybe there's always a reason. So it's, we try to host our class on Saturday mornings and we've got baseball, we've got football, we've got XYZ. And we get that, understand. Maybe one of these days though, we miss that for this one-time 4-hour class that you come to. Right now we're up against graduation and we're like, okay.
They need it more than everybody.
And next thing it's going to be summertime.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that's when you need them most.
We've got all this summer activities, vacations. And,
exactly.
Yeah.
So we're just like trying to get a cadence has been a little bit difficult because there's always something coming up. So go ahead.
Can you, from that perspective, and I think Omar stated this already, is there any capability of going to the school districts and saying, listen, can we set this up on a specific school day?
Yeah.
Either at the beginning of classes or at the end, or is there something that, and I know a lot of schools are different now. You don't really have PE credits, or you don't have those time frame for all that stuff. So it's hard to factor that in. But could you even, if you did that, is there a way that you guys have looked at it and said, okay, we can get in these school districts and maybe it's not a 4-hour, but can we condense it to a 90-minute where
we've talked a lot about that. Because
I think that would be a cool way to do it.
That's the end goal is like, how do we partner with the schools to get that in? And I think we wanted to do proof of concept first before partnering with the schools, because once you take it to the schools, sometimes it gets overtaken by school rules. And we do want this to be fun for them. We do want them. We want them to walk away with knowledge and not feeling like they were forced to come take this class, even though they were.
Unfortunately, I'm gonna be that fucking the ointment. What is that? The
squeaky wheel.
The squeaky wheel. Unless there's mandate, it ain't gonna happen. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I'll give you several examples as to why. Unless they really want it or they're scared straight or something tragically happened in their life, like their best friend died or I hit my head, I had to get stitches and I could have been paralyzed. Something like that, unfortunately, is going to be the mandate, right? Yeah. A bottom of sort for those people to go, oh shit, I really should have taken this class. Maybe I should be taking this class. Or there's a mandate of like school going, hey, you want your high school diploma?
Okay.
You got to do this.
So it's not the kids though. It's the parents.
Exactly.
Yeah. The parents are the problem.
Yeah.
The parents have to do the mandate right now.
And that's the thing. Yes, there are the kids that aren't going to want to do it because of X, Y, and Z. It's not cool. I don't want to spend the time doing it, whatever. It's the parents that you have to look at and say, okay, guys.
Yeah.
How do you, and that's the question you guys are probably over and over again. What is going to take to get these parents to say, okay, guys, we need this.
A near-death experience.
We need you to go through this before you buy your kid a bike.
Yeah.
That is the $100,000 million question of
how to crack the code.
With it.
And that's the way, like, Sam does a really great job of explaining. I don't have kids. I have a lot of students, though, that I help teach theater at an elementary school. And if anything happened to those kids, it would break my heart. But Sam has a really great way of explaining that it's the way she looks at this class or just e-bike education in general is it's like getting your kids swimming lessons. You're setting your kid up so that if they were to fall in the water, they wouldn't drown. And like you pay how much money to send your kid to swimming lessons to make sure that nothing's ever going to happen to them.
Yeah.
And that's how we look at this class is you're spending $2,000 on a bike. What are you going to do to make sure that your kid is safe and comes home at the end of the day?
But I go back again. I agree. It is the parents. I'm not going to disagree with you guys at all. But to Grace's point, that bridge of the parents going, you need to do this because they don't know. They've never been on an e-bike. 1, 2. So that bridge is that there's already a gap there. 2, the ones that have been on an e-bike are going to be like, dude, my kids already done this. There's another bridge that you need to cross.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? Until either the school, government, or themselves are going to go, hey, if you want to own an e-bike, you want to buy an e-bike, you got to show me you did this course here.
Right.
And so that comes back to government going, hey, Costco, Walmart, whoever's selling these e-bikes going, you can't, it's just like buying a gun, right? It's just like buying a car, right? Yeah. You can't do any of this shit. You can't walk into a dealership and buy a car unless you have proof of insurance and a driver's license.
Yeah.
Like the same thing should happen with these e-bike sales.
And technically they are supposed to have insurance. That's actually something I learned, that you should be insuring your child, or even me as an e-bike owner should have insurance.
Yeah.
And so all these things are, again, mandate.
But right? No one's checking it.
It's you have to do it. Like,
the problem with it is you're talking government. Like, how long is it going to take? It's going to take the government, whether it's California, whether it's federal, whether it's just
it has to be a big enough. It has to be city.
It has to be a big enough problem to start those conversations, and for it to even get to a close where it's going to be a California mandate of X.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot of work from the city perspective or the county perspective to do it.
It would have to be a city thing, in my opinion, only because it's not a big enough problem globally. Like to your point, in the Midwest, they're not having this problem, right? In the hood, they're not having this problem, but it is a beach town. So Encinitas, Carlsbad, Oceanside, all these cities would be like, hey, there's a mandate now in our city that you have to have this going. Boom. So in my opinion, chain reaction needs to be in the city council meeting, being like, hey, I got a voice here. And this is why we think, and have those stats, right?
So here's the take on that.
Yeah.
The police are the ones that help out with this. So what's the police department saying about this? And the officers that are coming in, did they look at it as, shit, this is just another class that I have to give? Or is this something that actually interests them? Because that's also maybe part of the problem is when you are asking an already understaffed police department to come in and do something like this where they're not getting paid anything really extra to do this. It's also part of that. And there's probably been a lot of conversations with you guys too about how how to engage the police departments a little bit more, and what makes it special for something that's going to drive them to want to do these things. Have you guys seen a little bit of that too?
Yeah, like I said, we sat through the police department's presentation. We've sat through San Diego Bike Coalition's class. So those are like the two that are out there and people know about them. But again, it's disseminating the information. Yes, they're giving the right information. How it's presented is not resonating, or it's just these kids just don't care. And I think that's where you see like the lack of want from the police side. Like they have other things that they should be focused on and doing versus spending an hour trying to teach 12 to 18-year-olds how to safely ride their bike.
I could only imagine.
That aren't going to pay attention to you.
That aren't paying attention.
But to your point, though, I can only imagine the one officer that's giving this presentation. He's like, fuck, really got to do this. So his energy's already like, bah.
It's already
and
low.
And then these kids are like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, did you? Yep, I saw that. Yeah, whatever.
Wait,
exactly.
So you said in these previous classes that they don't have to take their phones away?
No.
Like they're not really forcing them to do that.
Wild.
Nope. So they don't have to take phones away.
Wild to me.
And then for San Diego Bike Coalition, there's two parts. One part is like a 3 or 4 hour Zoom where you don't have to be on camera. And then the other part is like
the harassment training, baby.
Yes. That is the best way to
4
explain
hours
it.
of harassment training. Push play. Go do something else.
Answer the question, move on.
Dude. Yep.
And then the other half, though, is like a full day of riding, but it's more so focused on elderly that are getting into cycling and like safely cycling, like bike cycling, not e-bike riding.
Yawn.
Yeah. And they're only held twice a month in random parts of North County. So it's not like every Saturday this class is happening and there's only like 15 to 20 spots that are open. How many of those are kids going to be signing up for? So that's where, like our goal is to become the specified group that gives the e-bike training, the youth e-bike training.
Yeah.
That's what our goal is to be. So like when you go to the police and they're like, hey, where can my kid, how do we sign up for you guys' e-bike class? We just got an e-bike. Actually, we don't give that anymore. Chain Reaction is the one that's hosting these classes. If you go to their website, sign up, they're in class the following Saturday. So that's what we want to be with the school. We want to be who the school also endorses and we don't have this class, but
it's almost like when you get a ticket, you can go to the DMV traffic school. It's not DMV or state of California that's giving these things. It's these third parties, and it's almost in that same token of, hey, we're not doing it, but if you look at Chain Reaction, they are certified to give these protocols and stuff.
It's traffic school though too. I'm not going to incriminate myself, but
no, but
I'm not going to incriminate myself, but I am.
Yeah, but no, I didn't say what I did. I did it.
I think the point is what Grace is trying to say is they're trying to get to the opportunity where they're the third party of choice for these programs, and it shows that it works.
Yeah,
there's traffic schools out there that have been doing it for fucking years.
Yeah.
And so it took them a while for the states and the government to release that.
But again,
the pathway is there to make that happen.
So again, it goes back to changing legislation, changing things in it's because of their vehicles. I'm sorry. I would assume that the schools would be a part of it. Yes, the law enforcement would be a part of it, but the Department of Motor Vehicles should be a part of it. Their curriculum now as well. Yeah. Hey, I'm going to go buy a bike. Here you go.
And we actually go and get the DMV, like the driver's pamphlets, and we give those to the kids because there is now a bike portion in those like driver's training manuals, and
not for e-bike drivers,
for both.
Yeah.
So it's more geared towards keep an eye out for bikers, but there is a portion in there that speaks to being an e-bike driver. And so the kids go home with that at the end of class. That's like a take home with them.
What is Chain Reaction's thought process of appropriate e-bike age? Because it's
a hot topic.
It's a hot topic.
Yeah.
Because you should be, in a sense, if it's DMV, if it's gotten that way and e-bikes are going 70 miles an hour in some cases, you should be 16 just like everything else.
Yeah.
But the people that you see using these mostly are your 10, 12, 13-year-olds
Yep.
that have no concept of what's going on.
Yeah.
Hormonally, could you imagine those kids are not even thinking with their big heads; they're thinking with their little heads.
Right.
One, two, everything neurologically that's happening in a teen or preteen is equivalent to being high and drunk, dude. Hormonally, read the male brain.
Yeah.
And these male kids that are freaking going through testosterone like craziness right now. It is so crazy. This is why rental companies won't rent to anybody under 25.
25, yeah.
Because they don't think straight.
Yeah.
And now here we are.
Yeah.
What is the appropriate age? Fuck.
Yeah.
25.
Right? Yeah. No, it's interesting because it's like one of those, I don't want to say it's a lost cause. You're going to be getting kids on them no matter what. And I think it's a personal, like for me, I don't think kids should be on younger than 16. But
wow.
I agree.
It is.
That's a fight.
And that's the thing is it's a fight because the thing, especially for parents, because it allows parents like, I don't have to take you to practice now. You can ride to practice.
It's secular for sure.
Yeah.
And the fact that if a parent gives a 13-year-old an e-bike to go cruise, like freedom, but yet they don't understand it.
Right.
And
I just had the other day was talking with a friend and there's neighborhood kids, but they go to different schools. And so one had spring break and the other didn't. And so the one kid that was on spring break rode at lunchtime to see his friend and like hang out with him at lunch. And on his way got hit and had to go to the hospital. And these kids watched as it happened. And one of them had been in the class with me. He was one of my kids that I had come in, and it really scared him to actually see it and actually see his friend get hit. Thankfully, he's okay. But I will say the next day or the next weekend, he had a new e-bike. And these are 12, 13-year-old kids. And my thing is just like parents, if you're going to be doing this, then you need to know what your kid is getting on. You need to go ride it. You need to find the right helmet. Really, they should be wearing like almost like a motorcycle helmet, a fully encased helmet, not just a bike helmet. Yeah. Because the other thing too is like when you're on a bike and you're going down a hill, that bike picks up speed really fast. When you're on an e-bike and you're pulling a throttle at the same time as you're going down a hill, if my e-bike goes 23 miles per hour, when I hit the throttle going down a hill, my e-bike can go up to 50 miles per hour.
Fuck yeah.
And if I lose control of that bike and all I have on is a bike helmet going 50 miles per hour down a hill, and we know how hilly Encinitas, Carlsbad, and Oceanside are. Mm-hmm. There are hills everywhere. So that's why for me, it's like kids shouldn't be on bikes until they're 16 or have gone through some sort of education on what they're riding.
Yeah.
And most of the time kids are wearing like cheap skateboard helmets.
That's the popular helmet. That's the cool.
It's the cool helmet.
Yep.
And it is funny to me if you look at it. The helmet companies should be fully taking advantage of, hey, our skateboard helmet is the trendy helmet. How can we make it even more adaptable to an e-bike helmet or what have you? Yeah. And so there's another business side of things that these companies should be looking at and being like, all right, there's
capitalize off this.
They should be. I'm actually shocked that a helmet company hasn't capitalized on it and taken the opportunity to be like, okay, this community, this area, Southern California alone has how many e-bikes in it and how many skateboard and bike helmet companies are actually in Southern California.
Born here.
Yeah, born here. Like they are here. Like
founded everything.
And it's unbelievable that you have not you have not seen a lot of that capitalized on. Which is crazy. My head with all of this stuff when trying to the education aspect of it, there's groups like Carlsbad Village Association.
Yep.
And then there's one in Oceanside that I don't know the official name for, but have you guys gone and talked to the Village Association to say, because they host a lot of like events throughout the city, like nonprofit and everything else to engage the community.
Yeah.
Has there been any connection with, let's say, Carlsbad Village Association to say, okay, you're doing your movie night during the summer times.
Yep.
Can we somehow partner with that? Do we do a quick 1 hour class for all these families that are showing up?
Yeah.
Do that. Has it been any?
We haven't done that yet. I think that's like part of the thing of like where we just need more people. Like we need more
you need
help,
more volunteers.
Exactly. Because I would love to be doing those things, because I think that's exactly where we should be. But it's also just trying to like get movement on some things. Everybody now works full-time jobs, so we're just trying to like keep it going. So I think that's where we want to do all these things, but it's like time is sometimes hard.
I got a couple questions for you before we wrap, but the biggest thing I think would encourage you guys to do is, again, mandate and necessity come from scarcity or fear, right? And like fear is the primary one, that scared straight clip. If you could sit there and be like, hey, we're having movie night at the amphitheater, because summertime in Oceanside, they have movie night.
Yeah.
And how many people from Oceanside and even Carlsbad and Encinitas come and hang out at the beach, go watch a movie night for whatever it is, and they take their kids there because it's like having a drive-in vibe. And if you paid a 30-minute or 20-minute scared straight and then promo that, right? That's a huge, just creating traction, creating awareness. Parents are seeing this. Oh shit, my kid can die on this thing. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That's going to create fear. Yep. That's going to create some form of scarcity or need in their head.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is, again, going back to mandate of going to the schools, going to the city council, going to all of these individual city governments and going, hey, this is a requirement. Should be a requirement. This is a need. And this is why.
Yeah.
Where do you guys see right now as a board, like chain reaction being like, if you could snap your fingers today and say, we had all these people, we have all the volunteers, we have everything that we need, where do you see chain reaction playing a role in education of these young people for e-bikes?
I see us partnering with the e-bike manufacturers. So like we work with RAD, and RAD, anytime someone buys an e-bike from RAD, they send them to us to go take the e-bike course. We're in the schools. Like, hey, every Saturday, once a month, we've got 4 classes going in 4 different classrooms so that we can educate. We take about 20 students a class. So it's like, all right, we got 4 classes on Saturday happening at the school. We've got 40 kids or whatever in there taking the classes, and it's everybody can plan for it. I think that's what's hard is, oh, we got this, we got that, we got this, we got that. And it's no, we know the first Saturday of every month that Chain Reaction is hosting a class at Carlsbad High School, and they've got room for 150 students. And we just get them all educated, and then they move on with their day. So I think that's where I see us, is just like, we have this well-oiled machine where it's like, we know that class is on this day. You guys come in, we do it, and then the next batch of kids come in, and it's the same thing. Because it's like the e-bikes aren't going away. Families are still growing. Yeah. People are still having kids. And so the need isn't ever going to stop. But then it's also, how do we get the parents educated? Yeah, the kids are important. They need to learn how to do intersections. They need to learn how to signal and all that stuff. But it's the parents that also really need. They're the ones driving that are missing and hitting the kids on the e-bikes. Yeah. So it's both. Like my dream is to see us having 2 classes going on at the same time where parents are in one and kids are in another. We know the kids, we don't want the parents with the kids. I was like very adamant about that when we were building the training program, because I want these kids to feel comfortable to say whatever they need to say.
And they're not going to say it in front of mommy and daddy.
Exactly. And so I want to host. So while Sam is educating the kids, I've got the parents, and I'm taking the parents through a course of just, here's what your kids are learning. As a driver, this is what you should be doing as a driver. Because that's the other thing is laws are changing all the time. That's one thing we're finding is like, legislation, as slow as it is still happening, because the government is noticing that this is becoming a problem. We are seeing more deaths. We are seeing more hits and all that stuff. And so it is taking place, but that information isn't being like sent out. Like people don't know all of these new laws that are happening. So how do we make sure that we're staying on top of that and teaching current drivers of, hey, you got to be on the lookout for this. So it might not just be an e-bike course anymore. It might be also some sort of driver's course of as a driver you come in.
That was my next question to you, was that it's not just e-bikes that are a problem. We just had a major impact in our community on an electrical skateboard.
Yep.
Somebody lost their lives on an electrical skateboard.
Yeah.
And like scooters, now you have you go downtown San Diego, you got freaking drunk people on freaking scooters. How are these people still able to drive freaking electrical scooters that go 20 to 30 miles an hour, freaking drunk as hell because they don't want to freaking catch a cab?
Which technically you can still get a
DUI.
pulled over and all that stuff. Yeah, you can get a DUI
if you're all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But again, all that to say is like how much more of not just e-bikes in this educational for chain reaction can tap into if mandate and the government and legislation changes.
Right.
Hey, if this is a requirement, if you are planning to drive or rent a scooter, e-bike, an electric skateboard, like these are all mandates and requirements that you have to do because we're trying to save lives here.
Exactly. And I think for us, like chain reaction, like we are focused on the kids. Like that is really what it is about. We want to make sure we maintain that because those are the lives that we really want to impact. We want them to feel safe when they're out there, that they can still go out and ride their bike, be a kid and have fun and all that. Like that's, at the end of the day, that's what we're focused on, is them being able to feel safe out there when they're on their bike. And then we can make mom and dad feel safe knowing that their kid is going to get home safe.
But I think you're impacting the kids, and we'll wrap up, but you're impacting not just the kids. Yes, the priority is the kids for chain reactions. I commend you for. But the fact that you are encouraging these parents to do that, which is now going to create a chain reaction, to use a separate word or to go on the name of the nonprofit, is creating a chain reaction for these parents now because they're actually driving, like you said, but not just they're driving, they're actually doing things as well that they're going to talk to their friends about who may not even have kids.
Exactly. Yeah. It was really cool. After the pilot class and one of my students that came, I gave him a ride home. And it was really awesome to be in the car with him. And we had pulled up to an intersection. And I was like, how would you cross this intersection on your bike? And he was like, well, I think I would, at this one, I would get off my bike and I would just walk like a pedestrian. And I was like, perfect. And then we got to another intersection. I was like, what would you do at this intersection? And he was like, this one isn't as busy, so I would make sure I have my right of way and then I would go. And it was just like really awesome to see the wheels turning and see like he just spent 4 hours in a class and then being able to like really apply that. And then I remember listening to him, he was talking to his brother, like after I dropped him off, and he was telling his brother about, hey, make sure if you're going to do this. And it was just like really awesome to see it come to life, not just in that classroom. Yeah. And to think we really do want it to be like the cool thing that the kids remember. I think that's why the coconut activity is so fun, because we all remember like having to take care of the egg. Don't let the egg.
I was going to refer to that.
Exactly.
They use that as a preteen, don't get pregnant type
exactly.
shit. Dude.
But ours is that's what we want the coconut to become. Like, hey, did you take the coconut class where like you got to drop it? All these. That's why the activities are so important, because we want them to stick like that egg thing stuck when we were kids.
Yeah. I think in the ideal scenario, you've got the manufacturers right in step with the distributors that are right in step with the school systems and the government, whatever it may be. That's the ideal scenario. Yeah. God knows how long that's going to take. But it would be great if a company like RAD would look at it and say, okay, as part of our program selling to the distributors, here's what we are offering to this, which we want you to offer to the consumers, and so on and so forth. There's a way long line to go down to get that, but in the ideal scenario, that would be great.
Yeah. I think like on packaging, like my background's in marketing, but it's like on packaging on my Rad bike, I've got a QR code that I scan that goes right to Chain Reaction's website.
I think it's too late. I think it's too late if you already bought a bike and then you're requiring the people. I think in order for you to buy the bike, all these retailers.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you look at it down the road and everybody has figured out the e-bikes are as much of an issue as car deaths and accidents and everything else. You could look at it and say, just like Grace said, as a manufacturer like Rad, to put a QR code to say, okay, we've partnered with Chain Reaction. And yes, you would hope that the parents or the kids would at least scan it and understand and see it before they start getting on the bike and everything else. And that's the ideal scenario, that you walk down. Like, it's hard, yes. Once you take the toothpaste out of the tube, it's hard to
put it back in.
But there's got to be the starting point of eventually getting to that, where these manufacturers and the consumers and the distributors all work together to say, okay, here's at least the information. You can't force anybody to really go to it, but at least to have everybody in the understanding of, here is the information that is needed and presented to you to give you the best opportunity. That's what you fucking want. Yep. And that's, I hope, as this continues to grow, that's the direction that you guys are able to get to, and including working with cities and school districts and all that stuff. Like, because it's, you said, it's not, e-bikes aren't going anywhere. They're going to keep getting heavier, faster.
And faster. Yep.
Right. And what drives me crazy is when I see 2 to 3 kids on the same e-bike.
Yep.
And so, what the fuck, guys?
Yeah.
Let's have a little bit more common sense here.
Yeah.
And that's,
I think you're not going to, your rules are meant to be broken type adage. You're never going to come across, and there's not going to be 100% solution to the problem, but with, hopefully through legislation and through change and through like e-bikes becoming more and more of a topic of discussion, that we can get away from minimizing those things, but it's never going to eliminate stupidity. Oh, no. Like, people are just going to, and especially with preteens, I think you can have all the legislation, you could have all the requirements, you could even partner up with a company like Rad and go, hey, these are all the things. There's tools in place that are easily accessible,
right?
And you can't ride your bike or buy this bike. It's not going to eliminate the kids going, hey, Jimmy has a bike. I'm going to go free. Can I borrow your bike real quick, Jimmy? Right. I've never done the course, but fuck it, I'm going to go do it. Yeah. So it's never going to eliminate those things. Yeah, you're still going to pop wheelie. You're going to do all this stupid that preteens do.
But they're still fucking asshole motorcyclists.
100%, dude, that are grown-ass adults.
I'm like,
So that's never going to change. Yeah. It's all about the presenting the opportunity.
Yeah, 100%.
It really does come down to that. It's presenting the opportunity and making sure that the opportunities are there, at least for those people that want to take it.
Yeah.
I understand that you're not going to.
There's always human nature, baby.
It's human nature.
Yeah.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
100%.
Anyway.
E-bikes included.
Grace, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm glad that we've had a chance just to have this conversation. I haven't asked you enough about Chain Reaction, and I apologize for that.
Oh, wow.
But it's really cool that you guys are doing this program, and I hope that things kind of progress at a easier pace.
Yeah.
And it becomes a little bit more manageable to get the programs out there that you guys need to. So,
and you parents, reach out, man. Do something. Don't let your kids do something stupid.
So if people want to hear more about Chain Reaction right now, or the programs you guys supply, like, where can they go? Yeah,
for sure. I would say right now the best place to go is our website, which is chainrxn.org. That has our schedule. It has who we are, what we do, all that kind of stuff. And that's going to be your best place to just find information. We're working through the social stuff. It's there, but again, it's one more thing, and there's only 3 of us. We'll get there eventually, but that would be the best spot. chainrxn.org.
This has been an international podcast transmission of No Fixed Agenda, presented by Bubs Naturals. Music was provided by the Poor Dirty Astronauts, with lyrics written by Matt Meyer. You can rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you find your favorite podcast episodes. NFA, over and out.